designing homes for everyone, regardless of age or mobility, whether you're 8 or 88. That to me is the goal.
Hey guys, today on Real Time, I speak with a gentleman named Jeffrey Kerr. He's a real estate agent who has been working with people with disabilities as his clients for many years, all the way back to 2004. And he's got a great story to tell. And we're going to go deep on what exactly accessibility means in the world of real estate. We're going to talk about the features in homes. We're going to talk about what's working, what's not. And I think you're going to really enjoy it. So let's dig in. Buckle down. Here we go. My conversation with real estate agent Jeffrey Kerr. Oh, this is exciting. This is exciting, ladies and gentlemen of the world. Whether you're in real estate or not, we have an incredible guest today. Somebody who's going to provide some deep insight, some long historical knowledge. Of course, today, joining us on Real Time is the one and only Jeffrey Kerr. And he is going to tell us why he is such an amazing Blue Jay fan. That is why we're here today to talk about. We're here to talk about the Jays. Of course, I'm kidding. We're both big Jay. Let's see it, baby. Yeah! Jeffrey Kerr, Blue Jay fan, which I do want. We have to touch on a little bit. But really, that's not what you do. Of course, you are a realtor who has lots of experience in making real estate more accessible. The journey more accessible. Accessibility is what we're talking about today. Something that I know, Jeffrey, I've taken for granted in my mind, like when I'm thinking about real estate and I was thinking about topics. And then when I saw your name come across and I saw what we're going to talk about today, lights went off. I'm like, of course. Oh my gosh. Thinking about all the people who need to have access. So first of all, tell us a bit about your background and why you in this discussion and what accessibility in real estate means to you, but also to the world.
Well, thank you, Sean. It's great to be here, and I certainly appreciate the opportunity to come on the podcast and talk about accessible real estate.
Yeah.
It's something that I've been doing for a lot of years. I grew up in a family. My aunt had MS. My mom is a occupational therapist / physiotherapist who worked at Toronto Rehab. So it was just a fact of life for me growing up in that environment. So when it came to real estate, it was just a natural fit for me to work with people with disabilities and help them find a home that works for them. For many years, I've written articles for the Canadian Paraplegic Association, which is now the Spinal Cord Injury Ontario. I've written articles for them, and I've took those articles and I've actually put them all together in a book, which I call Barrier-Free Real Estate: Achieving Freedom at Home. And so I wrote this book basically as a resource for people who are suddenly in need of an accessible home and they don't know where to start.
What percentage of your clients are those with disabilities?
It varies from year to year, but probably on average, it's probably about 65 to 70% of the buyers and sellers that I work with are people with disabilities or are looking for a home to accommodate someone.
Right, because these are things that, maybe if you don't have disabilities, it's not top of mind, but man, you are a very important specialist when it comes to this in terms of going through the checklist of what is needed to make a house more accessible. Why is it that accessibility in real estate matters, broadly speaking? And then I'd like to get down into some details about, what exactly are those things per room that we need to think about when we're thinking about accessibility.
Yeah, I think it's important for everyone because everyone, regardless of their age, whether you're 8 or 88, you can appreciate an accessible home. It could be a parent pushing a stroller. It could be someone looking to age in place. It could be a family member that you want to welcome into your home. Regardless of the reason, accessibility is so important in our homes for everybody. And whether you realize it or not, there are people in your life that will benefit from an accessible home and being able to enjoy your home as much as you do when they come to visit. It could be, you have an injury, you sprain your ankle, and suddenly climbing the stairs are a challenge. It could be anything. You're welcoming an older parent to come and visit. So having access to a washroom is important so that they can stay. There's an entrance solution so that you can welcome people into your home. There's just so many factors into it, and accessibility, I feel, is just important for everyone.
Have you found when you first started thinking about this as a business model in a way, what were the barriers that you were seeing? Like, is the system already being conscious and doing their best to accommodate, or are you seeing that in the beginning it was really lacking? Now it's catching. Now there's a little more awareness, so it's becoming more prevalent in the discussions. Or are you saying it's right where it needs to be right now? Like, where would you say on the scale the overall buying and selling experience is like for people who need accessibility?
Well, to sort of circle back, I've been a realtor since 1999, so for quite a few years. And back when I started focusing on accessibility around 2004, there was one other real estate agent in Ontario that was focusing on working with people with disabilities. There really was no model to follow. There really wasn't a lot of information out there to help find homes that are accessible or could be made accessible. And slowly over the years, that's improving. What I found early on, it was a question of understanding what people's needs are and then going through the listings and identifying homes that could meet those needs. Fast forward to today, the real estate boards are getting a little better in gathering information on the homes and the accessibility features within those homes. So it's a little easier to find properties, but it's still, in my opinion, it's not where it needs to be.
Right. And what was it that inspired you to say, oh, these are the people that are not being looked at. We need to take care of that in my newfound, I got my license, here we go, I know I can specialize. Was there one specific incident that made you say, oh, this is what I want to do and focus on? Or was that kind of the reason you got into real estate to begin with? Tell me about that story about, what made you say, this has got to be for me.
Yeah, I think the aha moment was in 2004 when my aunt needed to sell a pre-construction condo that she purchased in the mid-90s. It was supposed to be wheelchair accessible, and so my aunt and uncle went into the sales office, bought what they were told was a wheelchair accessible condo, and through construction delays, my uncle had passed on before that condo was ready for occupancy. So I was with Aunt Jean when she rolled through the front door, and she knew very quickly that condo, she knew very quickly that she couldn't live there independently. So she handed me the keys and said, Jeff, I need you to sell this condo for me. And, the condo had a really good bathroom, large bathroom with a roll-in shower, but the kitchen itself was a joke. It was so poorly designed. There's no way that she could live there independently and look after meals. So I actually started researching selling accessible condominiums, and there's no resources out there. So I I met with a gentleman's name was Kevin Rogers at the time it was called the Canadian Paraplegic Association. And I was asking him what his advice was to market this condominium. And so he provided some advice for me. We had a great chat. And at the end of the chat, he said, Jeff, our community really needs someone with your background and your willingness to learn to help find accessible homes. So that was the moment where, things sort of became clear in my mind that this is something that is a natural fit for me. And again, it was a good business opportunity as well. So it was a perfect fit.
That's amazing. And I love that. Did you feel like, oh, this is almost a newfound purpose? It sounds like to do what you did when you jumped in, the things that motivated you to get there, it wasn't as simple as I'm going to get my real estate license and I'm just going to, like, you were motivated by a passion and a vision for what was missing.
Yes. And, even going even further back, I was building houses before I got my real estate license. So I got my license to help sell the homes that I was building. And so that in itself gave me a really good understanding of homes, how they're built, and how to identify homes that could be modified for accessibility. And then accompany that with the accessibility side of things. It was just a really good fit. But it's also very rewarding. I get an opportunity to work with some fantastic people who have challenges that they need solutions for. So I'm able to help them find solutions. And again, it's a very, very rewarding part of my business.
Yeah. And I think we take for granted some of these challenges. So, why don't you take me through some of those things? But first, actually, I want to ask you, what are some of the shortfalls that you've noticed making it harder for those with mobility issues, or those with visual or auditory limitations when it comes to searching for a home?
The information that's shared out there is not immediately evident as to what the accessibility features are or how these homes can be modified. So it starts with disseminating information and finding properties that can work, are already accessible, or can be modified to meet my clients' challenges. So it always starts with a conversation with a person. It's just sort of what are their needs, and there's a traditional real estate questions, location, budget, but when it comes to barrier-free, accessible real estate, then it's a question of what are the individual's specific needs that need to be accommodated within their home, and then helping them find that perfect fit.
Right. And it's not one size fits all.
It definitely is not one size fits all. It's every individual is unique, and the solutions that work for them have to be unique and tailored to them as well.
Right. So tell me about, you had mentioned earlier that it's not clear when you're doing a search which houses are accessible or have accessibility features. If I'm just a person who is looking for a home and I want to do a broad search, I don't even have an agent yet. I would love to be able to go and see what houses do have accessibility features and which ones don't.
Buyers love searching on realtor.ca. I mean, people are addicted to it. I mean,
love it.
It's great. So they do their research and then they reach out and say, hey, I want to look at this house. And if that resource was able to provide additional information about accessibility features, then that would be a definite bonus.
Let's talk about some of those features. Like, for example, can we go through what some of these features might be in the dream world where we can say this is what's going to be in the listing? What are some of those features that most of your clients are looking for?
So the two main features are definitely an entrance solution and a bathroom solution. So you've got to be able to get in and out of the home or condominium safely, and the bathroom is necessary, obviously, to be able to stay. So those are probably the two primary features that buyers would be looking for. How do I get in and out of the home, and what does the bathroom look like?
Right. So I think if I were just to take that for granted, stairs are obviously not for everybody. So the solution would be, would you look for a home that would have the ability to create a ramp, or it already comes with a ramp and is a ramp? Am I right in saying, assuming that would be a solution to stairs?
Yeah, the entrance solution can sort of take many different possibilities. A ramp, a landscape ramp, a wood ramp, a metal ramp, or it could even be a platform lift on the outside of a house. So it really depends on the height difference from the grade, outside grade, to the front door threshold. What's that height, and can it be reached by a ramp, or would that a ramp be too steep? So we've got to look at doing a platform lift.
Okay, talk to me about the bathroom.
We always have to talk about the bathroom, and generally when I'm talking with a buyer for the first time, the conversation quickly goes to the bathroom, because it's what are their specific needs within a bathroom, and is it a zero threshold sort of roll-in shower? Is it a bathtub where they could work with a bath bench and then transfer into the bathtub? That is probably it is one of the first conversations, and it's one of the more important ones.
Yeah, it's very important. I guess, getting on and off the toilet, entering the bathroom, the shower space is really important. The bathtub space is really important. Yeah. And how many houses, like when you're looking for a house, how much of it are you looking for that is already built in versus the ability to modify?
The majority of the clients that I work with just end up we look for a house that can be modified for their needs, and there's a couple reasons for that. Finding an accessible home that's ready to go and available is pretty rare, and a lot of those homes were modified for a specific individual, and once they have a home that meets their needs, they stay for as long as they can in that property. So they don't come up for sale very often, but if they do, is there a buyer out there who can make use of the accessibility features in that home? If it was modified, for a specific individual, or was it modified more for, like universal design, which can accommodate anybody regardless of age or mobility? But, to go back to your question, the majority of my buyers end up buying a house or a condo that they can modify for their needs, so they can make it exactly what they need it to be.
Right. Right. What about kitchen?
For the most part, I've found that people can make do with traditional kitchens, as long as there's room enough to maneuver a wheelchair, particularly if you're cooking in a seated position. So if an individual is living by themselves, then maybe they need to be looking at a modified kitchen. But kitchens can vary quite a bit. There's a lot of modifications you can make in a kitchen to make it accessible, like a roll under sink, lower countertops, ovens, or a cooktop that have the controls on the front, so that individuals don't have to reach over a hot element in order to change the temperature. So there's a lot of safety features that have to be considered.
And then I also heard there's a way to sometimes, some of it is pretty inventive and creative. I heard about you can push a button and things lower to you. You can get these built
Yeah,
into your home.
yeah. There's a company that will modify your kitchen cabinets so that the inside of the cabinets actually will lower down to the counter height, and then you can place your items on the shelves, and then hit a button or click a remote, and then the shelves rise back up. So there's also shelving that sort of is on a handle so that you can sort of pull them down to a lower level. There's a lot of technology and innovation out there to make the kitchen accessible.
And then as I'm walking through the home, I guess there's the entrance issue with stairs that can be resolved. But what about within a home going up and down the stairs, if there are stairs, or multi-leveled homes?
A lot of homes are too small. The footprint is too small to add a mechanical lift between two floors. So a big part of looking for an accessible home is finding a space that could accommodate an elevator, and an elevator being, an elevator in an enclosed shaft that goes between, three or more floors. There's also a product called a telecab, which is essentially like a London telephone booth that goes between two floors, and that gets mounted on a load-bearing wall, runs on a track, and that's sometimes a little easier to fit into a home. But two-story homes, I think, are good in that they often have a lot more square footage, and with the cost of real estate, the majority of the cost of a home is land value. So it's not always possible to find a large ranch bungalow on, that's all in one level. So a lot of people have to consider a two-story home and then find a solution to get up to the second floor.
But what about, when we think about people with auditory or visibility challenges, what are some of those features that are considered in the buying and selling of homes?
Yeah, so they're in condominiums now. For those who are hard of hearing or deaf, you'll notice with the smoke detectors now they have strobe lights. So it's not just a siren or a alarm that goes off. It's actually a strobe light that is very, very powerful. There's also I for lack of a better word, like a thumper that you can put in your bed, so that if the smoke alarm or the CO detector goes off in the night, it actually wakes you up in
Wow.
your bed. There's definitely technology out there that can help in the home buying, home selling process.
I love that. And now, with the advancement of technology in terms of lighting and switches and air conditioning, heat, HVAC, what are some of those advances that you're seeing that are not only convenient for people, with accessibility needs, but just generally speaking?
The whole home can be automated, from opening doors to turning on lights to turning on motion sensor faucets. There's pretty much everything in a home can be automated, so that if someone's not able to physically do the tasks themselves, they can use something like Google Home and just say, "Hey Google, turn on the light," or "Hey Google, open the door." It's so there's so many options right now in home automation, and it really provides a lot of flexibility and freedom for people to live independently at home.
Yeah. And Jeff, I know that there are some organizations, there are some places in Canada that are starting on the good foot. They're leading the charge. And I'm actually here in Nova Scotia now, where I've recently repatriated to. And as it turns out, the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors are really working hard to include more of those details in listings, really trying to shine a light on those features that are needed in the accessibility space.
Absolutely. I think it's a great pilot project, and I can speak to what's happening in Ontario. Over the last few years, there's more and more data that's being collected on for homes and the accessibility features, and I think it's so important to have that data and make it available. And it's not just in Nova Scotia and Ontario, but all across Canada, this needs to be done so that everybody across the country has easy access to the data and searching for homes. I can't stress the importance of having floor plans for people to understand the flow of the home and being able to look at options for, increasing a bathroom size. It's just, I think floor plans are crucial, and I certainly think they should be. They're definitely a valuable tool in the listing, along with all of the room data and the features data.
Right. Now, is there something to be said about the, definition of what makes something an accessibility feature? If I'm selling and I want to brand it as this is an accessible home, is it always, because we said it's not the same for everyone. So, is there some kind of criteria that makes something specifically like thumbs up? It gives us the accessibility approval.
The short answer is no. I think it's somewhat subjective to the individual who's inputting the listing as to what features, if they consider them accessible. Now, some of the criteria in terms of door widths, is there a roll-in shower? Is there an elevator? Those features are very specific. But I find that there's a lot of listings out there that say they're accessible. But when you drill down, well, they're just talking about being accessible to the bus stop or accessible to the grocery store. So it doesn't always line up with accessible from a accessibility point of view. It just, accessible doesn't really have a set definition when it comes to listing.
Yeah, I mean, I think of even your Aunt Jean, was it? Jean. She thought it was going to be, and then she gets in there, it's like, no, this is not going to work.
Yeah, exactly. And had she had some more information about the kitchen layout, then she probably would have known it more in advance that wasn't going to work for her. So that's a great example.
Yeah.
That, you gotta have more information.
Now that was in 2004, and you have been working with clients for so many years. And I'm sure a lot of agents who are watching this, realtors watching this now, are like, yeah, I want to be more involved and kind of work with those clients more. What is a respectful way to approach accessibility in real estate with clients?
I think it starts with a conversation. Every client is going to have a unique set of needs, and it's just a question of talking to them, asking them what an accessible home means to them, and what are their needs, and just sort of helping to understand how language is so important. How would you like me to speak to you? I always default to sort of person first language. Like, people with disabilities, you're a person with a disability. But I have a client who said, no, Jeff, I'm a disabled person. That's how I want to be referred to. So that's their choice. And that's just a conversation that we had so that I can speak to them in a way that they're comfortable with. And if I don't think people need to be intimidated by it. Just simply ask the individual the questions. There's a saying that I love. It's nothing about me without me.
I
Nothing,
love that.
nothing about me without me. So don't make decisions on behalf of a person without asking them first. And I think that's just so important. And people love to be heard and listened to. So, and people will always be happy to tell you their story. And you'll learn information, and you'll learn how to speak to them effectively and respectfully, and then just take it from there.
Yeah, I think it's just like any personal one-on-one relationship. When you're developing a relationship, a bond, a kind of a shorthand, this relationship is going to last for a while because you really want to get to know whether they are a person with disabilities or not. You always want to know what are their needs, what are their wants. But in this case, it sounds like you don't need to tiptoe around anything. Just having a direct conversation, asking, how do you like to be referred? How do you see yourself? What can I do to accommodate that? I think that just is, it's almost common sense, but maybe, in the world we live in where people they're not sure. I think it's good hearing that from you.
It's not a quick and easy transaction. There's always some extra layers. There's always extra time. It's working with people with disabilities is not for a person who likes to do a quick sale, a quick buy. That's not going to happen. It takes time to understand the client, and to find them the right home. And there's a lot of extra layers in terms of bringing in accessibility consultants to make sure that the home can be modified properly. There's a lot of extra considerations, and that's why you need to be willing to spend that extra time with a client to make sure that it's done properly.
Yeah, I love that. And when I think about some of these features and these elements, some of them they actually sound kind of beneficial to able-bodied and persons with disabilities.
Yes.
Talk to me about universal design. Talk to me about, are there, we know it's not one size fits all, but, clients are obviously thinking about resale value as well. A young person coming up, they know they need certain features in the house, but then they know that what if they want to move on? What if they get a job somewhere else in a different city? They want to sell their house. So how are people with disabilities thinking about the resale value? Or are they? Are most people, when they find their house, they stay? Talk to me a bit about that.
Yeah, I think for the most part, if someone buys a home and has it modified for their needs, they'll stay there for as long as they can. But there's certain modifications that can be made that they make the home more saleable. For instance, a zero threshold shower. I also call it a roll-in shower. That's probably one of the features that is most in demand with the clients that I work with. But that feature, like a roll-in shower, an elegant roll-in shower, is beneficial for everyone, regardless of age or mobility. So
yeah,
a lot of homes now are being built with these elegant zero threshold showers. So it's just a nice feature to have, and that definitely adds to the resale value. On the other side of the coin is features that may be right for the individual, but not necessarily great on the resale value. And I actually find an example would be a walk-in tub. So those are fantastic for individuals who need them or like to use them. They're great tools. So I always tell my clients, if that's something that you want and that helps you live independently and comfortably in your home, then absolutely put one in. But when it comes to resell, don't expect to get your money back out of it. Because it's just, finding the buyer who wants that feature is pretty rare.
So what would be, I guess the alt to that then would be, because people love bathtubs, people love taking baths. Are there alts to that?
Yeah, there's not a lot of options when it comes to bathtubs, and I agree with you. There's a lot of people who are bathtub people. They absolutely want a bathtub. So if that's what's necessary, then go for it. But there's also lifts that you can, like a chair that you can put in the bathtub that will then lower you into the tub. So that's an option too. But yeah, again, it comes down to the individual and what works for them. Another example are chair glides, where you have a staircase where you have a mechanical chair that glides up the stairs, and they're very helpful for people who have, are able to walk but maybe not navigate stairs. But when it comes to the resale value, I find that people aren't willing to pay a premium for a chair glide. So they're more of a temporary fix, for the individual. And then, again, like a walk-in tub, it's difficult to get the money back out of those when it comes to resale.
What are the other considerations, with you, when you're talking to real estate agents who are out there, what are some other things to consider, when you're engaging with clients?
The accessibility consultants, I think we touched upon it earlier. I think it's really important that when an individual is looking at a home, that you bring in the experts to confirm that, the specific modifications can be done. And again, what the cost is. So it's one thing to be able to do the renovation, but then what's it going to cost? And then there's the safety component of it. Is there a second means of getting out of the home in an emergency? One feature, a lot of people are concerned with high-rise buildings. They don't, they want to be on the ground floor of a condominium because they want to be able to get out in an emergency. And the solution for that, it's called an evacuation chair. And these are fold-up portable chairs that you can have either in the stairwell or in your unit, that in a case of an emergency, you can transfer into the chair, and then someone can push you down the stairs because they have tracks on them that are designed to be pushed down a staircase.
Wow.
So that's a solution for people who are concerned about living in a high rise. Like fire department ladders will only go up to the 7th floor, and that's only if the fire truck can get right beside the building. And when you look at most downtown cores, there's buildings popping up everywhere, and they're multi-story. So how do you get out in an emergency? An evacuation chair.
So, this has been such an important conversation. I think realtors and real estate agents, they need to get caught up on all of this information. I think it's important to be able to connect with many people of all kinds. So, in sort of closing, what are your things that number one, you feel like the system needs to really catch up on, whether it be, in the listings or what have you. And what
Yeah.
are other ways? Are there builders that need to consider more things? What would you do if you could be in control of everything? What would you change?
Yeah.
What do you think is working? What do you think, Jeff?
So I think there's a lot of things that are working and it just needs to be improved on in terms of getting that data, getting that information out there to the public and helping everybody find homes that are accessible. Because when an accessible home comes on the market, it's really important to find the right buyer for that home. A buyer who appreciates all the accessibility features. So that's certainly one thing. Builders. There's a builder in Toronto, the Daniels Group, that is ahead of the curve in terms of offering pre-construction condos that are fully accessible. There's another group that's called the Accelerating Accessibility Coalition, which is a group of builders and professionals that are involved with in the building industry, and this group has got together to advocate accessibility and to promote accessibility. So these are all things that are happening that are very positive and important, and I certainly want to see that these initiatives to continue. And again, it's just having a conversation and just willingness to learn. That's how I got started way back. I just had a willingness to learn, and you talk to the right people, and you talk to your clients, and just be open-minded.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing because, from what I understand, if I'm thinking about people who may come as clients, they're all going to be from all kinds of backgrounds and even with different disabilities. Talk to me a bit about that, like some of the people that you've worked with.
Aging in place is very popular now. They're about people wanting to stay in the homes and in the communities that they're comfortable in. So can their homes be modified over time to accommodate their deteriorating mobility? That's something to consider as well. Again, going back to the home, designing homes for everyone, regardless of age or mobility, whether you're 8 or 88, being able to live independently in that home for as long as you want. That to me is the goal.
Thank you so much for doing what you do. And this has been an incredibly insightful conversation.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it, and I appreciate you bringing me on the pod.
You got it. See you, Jeff. Go Jays, go. Thanks so much, Jeffrey. What a great conversation, shining a light on accessibility issues in real estate. I learned a lot. I hope you guys did too. And of course, if you liked today's episode, be sure to like and subscribe wherever you digest your favorite podcast. And of course, today's episode is brought to you by the Canadian Real Estate Association, CREA. Production brought to you by Alphabet Creative. My name is Sean Majumder. Thanks for joining us on Real Time. We'll see you next time on Real Time. What a time. What a time.